Hello F11 members and welcome to the post-production video tutorials for issue 71, December 2017. On the screen in front of me I have the finished product of a shoot that I've written about in the accompanying feature, imaginatively titled The Tree, which I shot just a couple of weeks ago in the misty woods just up the road from where we live. Here in Somerset, and I'm very pleased with this picture. It was just a gorgeous, evocative morning, and what I'd like to do now is talk through with you the post-production on this panoramic version. By the way, I've just ordered a huge print of this image, which we're going to put on the wall at home. Very much looking forward to seeing that. Okay, so let's go back to the raw images straight out of the camera and work through the processing. So here they are. I've flagged the images to be worked on, and being a panorama, I'm going to use Lightroom to merge the images into a panorama. You can see they start here at the extreme left, and then I work through rotating the camera around right round to the far right. But beyond just shooting individual frames, because of the contrast in the scene, I shot three, as you can see here, 1, 2, 3 exposures of the same image to be merged to control the contrast. So what I'm going to do is, first of all, merge those exposure merge those images, and then merge the merged images into a panorama. Sounds complicated, but actually, although it's a little bit time consuming, it's a relatively straightforward thing to do. So here you can see the first 3 to be done there, and then the next 3 in the center of the frame there. So I'm going to basically select the 3 to be merged originally. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and then I come up to the top here. I go photo, photo merge, and merge to HDR, and I click on that, and up will pop the merge window. Creating preview now. Because they're big images, 50 megapixels each, it does take a few minutes, well, not a few minutes, but about a minute to do this. So just while it's working on that, I'll just pause you. Okay, so that's the preview of the first merge. So now I've got it to de-ghost amount. Now it was a very still morning, there wasn't any wind blowing, so I shouldn't have a problem exposure merging here. Nevertheless, I've got the de-ghost amount set to high, and that means that any slight discrepancies between merging, say a few leaves blowing, Lightroom will attempt to mask and show the end product, show it as a hard edge. So I'm now going to click on merge, and you can see the progress bar up there taking place. So again we wait few seconds, so I'm going to pause you again while that happens. So it's now merged those 3, and in fact here is the merged version. I can view it as a thumbnail, and you can see over here it says HDR DNG. DNG stands for digital negative. So okay, that's that bit done. So I now move on to the next 3 here that I need to merge. Sorry, these 3 here. So I highlight them and go through the same process with each of those. Now, it would be very time consuming to do this in real time. So, in the words of Blue Peter, here's some I've done earlier. And I've already merged the images together for each particular section of the panorama. So here you can see there's the next merged image, and then this one here, and then this one here, and then finally, which one? This one, yeah. This one here. So what I'm going to do now is highlight those images. So if I come along and I go highlight that one and that one, and have to make sure I'm highlighting the correct one in each case. If I just hold, it's the DNGs I'm looking for, so if I hold my mouse over it tells me which each one is, hopefully. It's not doing it now. It's that one, isn't it? So then I highlight these that I want to merge. Okay, so you can probably tell I was getting a little bit confused there. Easily happens. So what I've done is I've gone back and I've flagged each of the DNG images, i.e. the merged images, which are now going to be merged into a panorama. And as you can see, I've selected them here. And now all I do is go up to, again, to Photo, Photo Merge, but this time I'm going to select Panorama. And up will come the preview window in a minute. Bear in mind that we're talking about merging a few frames here, all big images, all shot with my 5DSR, so 50 megapixels each. So that's a lot of information to crunch. So it's going to take, again, a little bit of time to do the preview. So while it's doing that, I'll just pause you. So there you can see it's done the panorama. It's looking great already, isn't it? That's just, of course, the preview. It hasn't actually done this merge yet. You can notice I've selected, I've gone to the default projection, which is spherical, which I find the most useful projection. Use that virtually all the time. I'm actually just going to uncrop, auto crop here, and you can see now those white areas around the image. The reasons for doing that will become clear in a minute. And now I'm going to click on merge for it to actually make that panorama. Okay, so it's been added to the task and you can see the progress up here top left. Again, that's going to take a couple of minutes probably because of the amount of information it's processing. So I'm going to pause you again. So here's the panorama now merged and put into my library there alongside the raws that it's used to make the panorama. So let's just go now into the develop module and work through this picture. Now I just process this image just as I would do any other picture. But let's first of all just work on the crop of this picture here. I could have let Lightroom auto crop it, but actually I'm going to be a bit more judicious about that because I want to retain as much as I can top and bottom of the picture. And I'm going to be using content aware fill in Photoshop to just fill in these white margins here. So I'm just going to bring that top and bottom in a touch and bring in the edge here. I think it's a mistake to go too wide with panoramas, so I'm going to bring it into about here on the left and on the right, just so I take out that end of the stump there. That's that done now there. I've still got those white bits, but we won't worry too much about them. And now, as normal, what I do is I come down and I look at the image and work on what needs to be done to this. So let's just consider my options here. Well, as normal, I'm going to start with my black and my white points, so I'm just going to adjust those as I do every picture. Start with the blacks, and I can move the black point to the left before I start losing any information there. And the same with my whites. Oh, I can't really go anywhere with my whites because, at the moment anyways, because of those blinking reds showing the clipping highlights. Now, when I shot this picture, I knew it would be unrealistic to hold on to the brightest parts of the backlit fog, so they don't worry me unduly. Nevertheless, I'm going to try and recover some of them using my highlight recovery there. and that's worked well. But now I'm going to look at the picture aesthetically, and I think it looks a bit too dark there. So I'm going to use the tone curve to brighten it up. Okay, so put in a touch of brightness somewhere about there. Now just bring back the foot of the curve there. I don't want it to get too soft there. So that's put a bit of contrast back into the image there. I'm now going to boost the shadows a touch as well here. And the picture's coming to me now. I think it's a bit too bright at the top of the image here. So now I'm going to use a grad filter and hold down my shift button and bring the grad in from the top here. Now I want to basically pull back the exposure up the top just a touch, but I really don't want to be affecting the dark areas of the tree, and this is where the new range masking function in Lightroom Classic CC comes in. So if I click on luminance now, and you can see down the bottom here, if I move the range across at the bottom there, can you see as I do that the dark bits of the trunk here are being lightened? So what in effect is happening is I'm using the grad tool to darken down the bright bits, but I'm not affecting the dark bits, and thus avoiding that horrible visible grad line on the tree itself. I think this is such a useful thing that Lightroom now has. Okay, so that's worked really well, hasn't it? I'm just going to fine-tune that grad a bit now, pull it down a bit more up there, and click on done. What else do I need to do? I'm going to come down here, and now it seems a bizarre thing to do, actually, to be shooting in the mist and then use the dehaze tool to actually take the mist out. I don't want to do that. I love the mystery of the mist on the middle distance, but I'm just going to put in a touch. You can see it's if I go too far, it looks ridiculous, but just put in a touch here. About +16 there, just to give a little bit more definition to the background there. Okay, and now I'm going to put in a touch of vibrance, around about 16 in this case, I think. It's looking good, isn't it? And really, what else do I need to do? Well, I'm going to use the adjustment brush here, and I can just come down here, select my brush size, come down here, selected mask overlay, and now paint in here. Just what I'm wanting to do is just brighten up the trunk of the image just a touch using the adjustment brush. Click off the mask overlay, and now come here to exposure and just brighten it up just a touch. I just experiment with doing that with shadows, actually. That's put a touch of shadow recovery in and a touch of exposure in, and that's brightened up that trunk nicely. Okay, at this point now I think I'm ready to just look at how far I've come with the picture. So the before and after comparison, you can see on the left it looks quite flat. So we've really made the image sparkle without any sort of radical over-the-top adjustments there. So go back to full frame. Now if I just hit tab on my keyboard, I can see the picture literally full frame. It's an image that needs to be seen big. So what I'm going to do now is basically, if I right-click on the image here, come down here, it says Edit In, and I'm going to continue editing the picture in Photoshop. So there's the image opened up in Photoshop, What I'm going to do now is basically deal with these white the sort of white corners. Relatively easy thing to do. So I'm just going to bring my tools in here, and I'm going to use this one. It's called, if I right click on it, it's called the Magic Wand tool. And what it does is selects areas of the picture all very close to the selected tone, and you can adjust the tolerance up here. So just click on that and it's selected that white area of the image there. What I go now is I'm just going to go up here to Edit and come down here to Fill, and up comes this dialog here. And I make sure I've got selected Content Aware, and I click on that, and now just wait for Photoshop to do its thing. I have to say, I think this is magic. I've shown it to you before, but I'm just in awe really of how this works. I guess it's just something we take for granted now, but that's dealt really well with that top corner, hasn't it? It looks natural there. I'll zoom in and check it in a minute, but first let's just deal with these other corners here. So just deselect that corner and now select this corner here and do the same thing. Now I've actually got an action to do this called Expand and Fill, which I've made, and so if I just play that now, that will deal with that corner. As you can see, there's a little white bit down the bottom there, so let's zoom in really, really close and bring in the navigator here and deal with that white bit down the bottom there. Click on that and play the action again. And I carry on around the image area, dealing with the intruding white bits in this fashion. Expand and fill, and that's that done. Up the top, there's another one there, top right corner. Click on that. Content Aware Fill, it's called. Now let's just check these corners and check that they look believable. And I'm happy with that. And that, in essence, let's just take out the various bits that are cluttering up my display here and look at the finished product. Zoom back out, Command minus to zoom out. And I'm very pleased with that picture, very pleased. It's incredible sharpness as well, being shot with a 24mm TSE lens and the 50 megapixel 5 DSR. I end up, as you can see down here, with a panorama that is 565 megabytes, a huge image there. Okay, so that's the processing of that, and in part 2 I'm going to work through how we remove imperfections in pictures. Okay, thank you.